Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. You're listening to the Hummingbird Talks. We happen every Wednesday. My name's Melissa, and the show is aimed to educate and inspire the everyday person about spirituality, health, and wellness. We have different guests on each week speaking about a range of topics designed to inspire and facilitate a direction towards wholeness, happiness, and self-awareness on this journey we call life. Now, just due to the current situation and the current climate of our environment, I am having my guest on via phone, so bear with us if there is any technical difficulties, and usually I go live with Facebook as well, but we haven't been able to do that. So I would like to apologise in advance if there's any technical difficulties. And as you can hear, I'm a bit nervous and a bit frustrated because we've just tried for the last couple of minutes to get this happening. But welcome, Mel Wood. Say hi, Mel.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I've got you louder so that everyone else can hear you as well. So welcome. For those that don't know Mel, she was on my second show. We were talking about Reiki and blockages and emotional trauma and things like that. But Mel Wood, she's the founder of Time to Exhale. She's a life coach. She's a Reiki master, and she's always continuously working on herself to remain that clear channel for her clients as well. So, Mel, on this show today, we're going to be talking about managing stress, overwhelm, anxiety. We're going to go through and share some tips and tricks on how to manage our current situation, given how raw it is as well. So we just want to keep things basic as well. But I'm going to hand it over to you, Mel. Like, what's your current take on this current situation that we've got happening?
Oh, Mel, it is very overwhelming. As the government keeps saying, it's an unprecedented time. It's something that we've never experienced in this lifetime. And yeah, I think for me personally, I'm just trying to take one day at a time, keep informed, but try not to get too caught up in Corona being my day in, day out living right now. So look, it is really challenging. There's people losing jobs. There's people, there's homeless people who are having to deal with not just their situation, but now this on top of it. So we just need to try really hard to just get perspective as well.
Yeah, perfect. And I love that you said, get perspective. It is hard when you're in the thick of it as well. So, and us obviously talking about it, I'm not as hard done by as other people. So we're just, trying as much as we can to help those that are out there. But Mel, explain what stress is. How are we experiencing stress at the moment? What's it looking like?
Okay, well, stress without this sort of situation is sort of hard enough to deal with. But, stress and overwhelm and anxiety come from a range of different factors. And a lot of the time it starts from feelings of uncertainty, feelings of losing control, feelings of an unknown future. So you can imagine that this is hard enough when we're living our day-to-day, let alone now we have the coronavirus basically accelerating those feelings of uncertainty. So that's where it's coming from is, when we feel out of control, we go into this spiral of overwhelm and we don't really know how to get out of it.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I want to ask you this question, and I say this to all my guests. I've got this question, not sure if you can answer it, but why is control so important for us? Like to have that certainty, to have that, I've got to control the outcome here. But really, this kind of situation is really out of our control, is out of our hands. So why is it so important to us to have that control, to have that certainty?
I think control and certainty are directly linked to our primal survival, right? So
Yeah.
when we are in control, we are logically reasoning with ourselves and saying, if I do this, I know that this will happen. You
Yeah.
know, if I eat well, I know that I will be healthy. If I exercise, I know this will happen. If the kids go to school, then they are educated. So when
Yeah.
we are living day to day, feeling in control, we feel less likely that something bad is going to happen to us. And when we say that something bad, that is when something is questioning or threatening our lives.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's why, the need for control is directly linked to our need to survive as a primal need for human beings.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you say that, because you're right. All of our primal needs at the moment are being questioned,
Mm,
especially what's happening with the supermarkets. Everyone's stocking up and things like that. You know,
mm,
it's our primal needs that are being questioned. So, primal needs. Let's just explain that a little bit so people understand, because really, what's
mm.
happening now, our lower chakras are going out of balance.
Yes,
So those
root chakra. Mm,
Yes. So those foundational aspects of safety, security, a sense of
mm.
knowing certainty is a bit out of whack at the moment. So, what would you consider as some primal needs that we're needing, or
Mm.
that we're is going out of whack at the moment?
Yeah, so definitely, obviously, you know, with industries like the hospitality industry, people having to close up shop. I know particularly for my business as well, I've had to, you know, I can't see people face to face anymore. So,
Yeah.
it does, those primal needs of having food, water, a roof over our head, clothes on our back, you know, when
Yeah.
we start to go into losing jobs, financial instability, that they are primal needs. And unfortunately, a lot of us forget that we do actually have assistance. And I know that the government is doing everything they can to help people with their primal needs and help them
Yeah.
to. I know, you know, the lines at the moment with Centrelink, it is a disturbing sight, but I think we have to keep perspective,
Yeah.
that there are solutions being worked towards, and also with the financial institutions. So, you know,
Yeah.
the banks are coming together, the rental agreements, tenancy agreements, all of those things are happening in the background to
Yeah.
ensure that there is as minimal disruption to people's primal needs as
Yeah.
possible. So I think we need to break it down whenever we are feeling overwhelmed and that these primal needs are being taken away from us. I
Yeah.
think we need to just regroup and take a step back and think to ourselves, okay, what are the resources out there? What are the things? Who are the people I can talk to? Because there is support out there. So it's about, you know, allowing ourselves to, before we go down that
Yeah.
catastrophizing spiral of worst case scenario, we have to peg it back and we have to go, okay, what's the next step? You know?
Yeah. If someone is in that catastrophizing, in that state where they're not thinking rationally or logically, or, you know, are too overwhelmed and stressed by their current situation, they've lost their job, they just don't know how they're going to support their family. What are some behaviors that we can expect from them, or what would we see as a sign that, oh my God, they're going into anxiety and overwhelm, so that neighbors, so that friends and family can go, hey, hang on a second, I think you need a hand. Like, what
Yeah.
behaviors can we expect?
Um, that's a really good question. And I think behaviors that we can expect from those that are going through, you know, losing their jobs or their primal needs being taken away from them as they know it, is, you know, so they may isolate because they are just paralyzed with fear and they don't know what that next step is.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for everybody now to pull together as a community. And if you know anybody who is in an industry where they have had to shut shop, get in touch with them, ask them if they're okay, ask them if there's anything that you can do.
Yeah.
I know, you know, I've got a few friends in the health and wellness industry who are going through something similar now. And, you know, a couple of ways that I have supported them is saying, you know, can I buy a voucher like for a friend to use later down the track, you know. So it's a lot of just checking in with the people who you know are in trouble in terms of job loss, and also checking in with those people who you know have predisposition to depression and anxiety before this has even happened. So, you know,
definitely.
relatives, friends, it's really important that we make those people in our communities a priority, because you know, we unfortunately aren't able to just pop in and have a coffee down the road anymore. You and I are doing this through the phone. You know, there's already changes of different communication styles, but we can't let that stop us from checking in with the people who are struggling the most at the moment.
Look, you know, through all of this and what's happening, there's a lot of kindness acts coming out. You know, there's heaps of Facebook pages that are showing random acts of kindness by strangers, by community, by neighbours. And it's so amazing to see. Like, you know, I work a part-time job, and to have a manager go, hey, here's some money in your account, go spend it at a local restaurant, go support local communities. That is a fantastic, hopeful, exciting thing to hear, that we can go out and support people. Mel, emotionally, you know, it's taken a toll on everyone, like even us who are emotionally aware and, you know, help people through their emotions. You know, it's taken a toll on us too. What can we expect, you know, in the way of thoughts, in the way of, you know, people feeling, you know, what can we expect? You know, we kind of defined stress as, you know, feeling a lack of control, feeling, you know, uncertain, you know, not being able to see clearly. But emotionally, down to an individual, what would they be feeling?
Yeah, I think, and you know, I can even.
I'm putting a lot of pressure questions on you. Sorry.
No, this is great. This is what we all need to be talking about, you know, because if we don't talk about it now, it'll have a compounding effect. So we need to be sharing our stories now so that we can help each other.
Yes.
And, you know, even me, like, I'm not invincible, you know. I mean, sometimes I tell people, oh, yeah, I'm a life coach, and everyone's like, oh, you must totally have your shit together and you must be okay all the time. And, you know, and funnily enough, most of the time it's when I've got to speak about like how we can do things better that I'm actually going through my own struggles. And then you get that imposter syndrome and you're like, well, how am I supposed to talk to people about this when I'm trying to figure it out? And, you know, I've been fighting with my husband for the last week. Like, I kid you not, we are lucky we haven't killed each other yet.
Yes.
You know, we are working around a solution for home offices together. You know, he's got a very busy job too, which requires a lot of like talking and webinars. And, you know, just before I got on the radio, I had to go out the door and go, will you shut up and just find a different space? I'm on the radio. Like, it's just those kind of things. So I think, and, you know, we don't even have children. So my heart completely goes out to the mothers who are just trying to get by day to day, homeschooling right now, managing the household and also managing their relationships. I think what we can expect to feel emotionally is like we have been turned upside down. And we have to understand that that is okay to acknowledge and to feel. And we can have a bit of a moment of that realization, but it's really important that we don't sit in it for too long, because we need to pivot and we need to adapt to the situations coming in the next few weeks or months ahead. So it is normal to feel out of place, angry that you have to share your space, angry that your kids are home. It's okay to admit that. You don't have to be a saint all the time. And, you know, yes, it's beautiful to spend more time together, but it's also okay to lock yourself in the cupboard for 5 minutes and scream and go, my space is being invaded, because I think that's what a lot of people are feeling right now, you know. even pets will feel it. Like we've got two cats and they're thinking, what the hell are you two doing home all the time? I'm sick of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Mel, it does kind of feel like that for everyone, and, you know, especially those that have lost their job as well. It's that vulnerability of open communication, because essentially that's what you're saying, you know, acknowledge what you're feeling. If you have to tell someone what you're feeling and what you're going through, chances are they're going through the same. So you're making that connection, even though we physically can't touch, you're still making a connection somehow.
Yes.
So open communication, just, you know, wanted to ask you the vulnerability. I asked quite a few people vulnerability, but what does that feel like for you? For someone who's emotionally aware, what does vulnerability feel like for you?
For me, vulnerability is the ability to be able to just let your guard down with others and to be able to admit when things aren't going right. And knowing that your feelings are completely valid and you have a right to express those feelings.
Yes.
So if you aren't wanting to be vulnerable, particularly throughout this time, I think that you're going to find it really difficult because especially, and we know from research with human touch, we know that most of our trust, empathy, compassion comes from being around others and offering our hand on someone's back or offering a hug. So, you know, the vulnerability often comes through face-to-face conversation, and we now need to be prepared to be vulnerable through FaceTime, through the phone, through WhatsApp, and that is still a beautiful thing. It's creating a different kind of connection, but we need to work harder at being vulnerable because we don't have those social cues anymore that we derive from face-to-face.
Yeah, perfect. And I love that you said that about human touch. You know, it's, you know, we can't offer that at the moment, but in a way, I gave, to give a bit of perspective to our listeners, I gave Mel a bit of a challenge. I said to her, look, because I knew from, you know, earlier days of doing some reading of articles how important that human touch was, and given our current situation, we really can't offer that. But Mel, I gave you a challenge to do a bit of research, find out some stats or find out some interesting facts of what the human touch is. And by no means are we going against government recommendations now, but I just wanted to highlight how important the human touch is, so that when this situation is all over and things have settled down, we can get back to focusing on what's really going to help us thrive and what's really going to help us survive. So Mel, share some of those stats of the human touch.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I read an article that had about 10 different examples of the effects of human touch, and one of them that stood out for me was they did studies on two women going in for MRI scans, and we know that the MRI machine itself can cause massive fear and anxiety, right? Because it's loud noise, confined space. And the woman who had their partner holding their hand the entire time did not show signs. They did brain scans of, you know, the parts of your brain that light up during fear or feeling threatened. And the woman who had her hand held the whole time did not show any signs of threat or fear versus the woman who went in on her own without human touch. So, you know, that's one example. There's other examples of even basketball teams where, you know, the more pats on the back and hugs that the basketball team give each other, the higher chance they have of winning the entire season. So, you know, it's human touch is camaraderie, it's affection, empathy, compassion. We know that primates groom each other constantly, right? So they've also done studies on primates who weren't groomed as much when they were little bubs versus, you know, ones that had been. And the ones that had been showed greater development of the brain function and also physical development. They were larger primates versus those who hadn't been groomed as often. So, you know, so many examples there, but I guess the main point is we know how important it is. And like you said, we are not advising people to go against government regulation right now.
No, I think, we need to really adhere to it so life can get back to somewhat normal. But continue.
I think we're just communicating that because we know how important human touch is, now it's more important than ever to be reaching out to people. And we're essentially going through a bit of a long distance relationship with everyone in our lives at the moment, aren't we?
Yes.
So it's like, what would you do in a long distance relationship with a loved one, and how can you translate that into, your family relationships, your friend relationships?
Yeah, and that's a good question to ask, but normally I'm asking those questions. But I was going to ask you, and let's have that topic. If human touch is so important to us, but that's something that we can't do right now, and human touch shows empathy, it shows vulnerability, it shows security. It shows support. What other ways, we've mentioned open communication, be that, tell a person how you're feeling. But is there any other ways that we can show all of those, or in a way exchange that human touch for another way?
Yes. I think, a lot of people are getting really creative at the moment with that app called TikTok.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't even know how to use it, but I really want to, because I think that there's a lot of compassion and emotion being shown through Facebook at the moment, through all of these videos that people are making. And I think it's an invitation for people to start getting creative, and through creating all these funny videos, and that's how we're going to convey our emotion. I think before we got on the call, I was telling you I was watching this funny thing about these imitating like old Italian men and women, because I'm Italian, so my friend sent it to me, and it's these funny accents of what do you mean corona, like the older generation completely being oblivious, and but we have to share those funny anecdotes and those emotional videos, whether they're happy or sad, or eliciting really different range of emotions, so that we're able to share as a community how this is affecting. And we have to also make sure that we're providing a good balance. So if you've seen a lot of negative articles, maybe try and find something positive and uplifting to balance your day out, so that you don't get stuck in that negative space.
Yeah, because when we get stuck in, you're watching videos, and I think everyone else is watching videos. I'm on a few Facebook pages that just have that uplifting emotion, but I've talked about this, with previous guests, of what, fear or negative space can do. And we want to acknowledge that fear and, negative or dense space that people are in now. We're not telling people, I'll just snap out of it. We want to acknowledge it. So when we're in that space, what can we expect? I want to say, things, seem hopeless at that point, don't they, in that dense space? What else can people expect in that negative and dense space? We've probably covered it, but, let's go over it again. In that negative, dense space, what does fear do to a person?
I think the hardest thing about being in that negative space is that we go down that spiral of thinking that this is never going to get better. This is permanent.
Yes.
And when we have to remember that nothing is ever permanent.
Yes.
Things are always changing. And yes, we don't know what the future looks like, but we have the control to change our state and how we're currently reacting. So, and I've even caught myself over the last couple of weeks, I sort of got into this habit, which was a really negative habit, but I'd wake up, I'd turn the TV on, I'd listen to the news first thing, I'd get onto Facebook, I'd do my scrolling, and then at night time I'd do the same thing. So I was bookending my days with in a really negative headspace.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we need to be informed, but I think we need to be very careful that we do not fall into a feeling of permanence. I think it's really important for us. I snapped myself out of it. Like even yesterday, I my yoga studio's streaming everything online now, which is amazing. So I didn't feel like doing the yoga class, but I forced myself to do it, and I felt so much better after I did. So I think that that's what we need to start expecting from ourselves, is change your state. If you are going into that negative spiral and feeling like it's never going to end, put on some music, get into the kitchen, cook up something, get outside. We most of us are lucky enough, even if you're living in an apartment, open the window or get out onto the balcony, breathe in that fresh air, because we do not want to become a prison cell in our own minds.
Yes. And oh my God, I think that statement is perfect. We do, if you've ever gone through depression or some sort of anxiety, it is that prison cell in your mind. And if you get stuck there, I think Tony Robbins says it perfectly. If you get stuck in your head, you're dead, kind of thing.
Yes.
And look, I can say that wholeheartedly with my own experience, that if I get stuck too much in my head, then, I don't see clearly. I'm not logical. But Mel, we've talked about what people can experience during this time. We talked about, fear, thoughts, what human touch can do. Just before we go into the next segment, and, we're going to talk about how we can actually manage. So we're going to go through some tools and techniques that people can apply to manage this. Guys, you are listening to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. You can hear us on the website too, rnb.org.au. I just want to shout out to people on the show, friends of the station, and this is a way of connection as well. Just letting you know that each person, I had to explain this more clearly, and sorry to hold you up there, Mel, but this morning I was thinking, or trying to do a bit of meditation just to clear my mind, because all of this anxiety and the stress that we're under. Guys, whoever your God is, or however you think of divinity, the universe, or, that higher power, there is a reason why you're here. If you're here breathing, living, your life hasn't ended. And it's very much a saying in our culture that, God has a plan for you. So if he's ready to take you, he'll take you. If not, and I'm sorry if this is triggering with stuff, with people, this is just my thoughts. If he's ready and, then, life is over. So the reason why I wanted to do the R&B Friends is to let people know that there is a purpose, that they do have a purpose. And you can hear, I'm getting stuck, because I just find this very emotional. So I just want to let people know that there is support and that there is people out there thinking of you. So all our friends at R&B Northern Beaches, I've got a few people that I want to shout out to. Heather Hall, Irish Support Agency, Great Irish Famine Commemoration Committee, Margaret Casey, Irene Casey, Giuseppe Rosa, John and Sylvia Colty, Sonia Foley, Greg Hurst, sorry, I've forgotten that name, Bill Holmes, Brett Stone, and Tomlin, Pamela Edmonds, Cameron Graves, Andrew Rothwell, Julia Hodgson, and James Maguire. So, guys, there is connection still with no face-to-face contact, but just a shout-out to all the R&B friends. So you can hear us live on 88.7 and 90.3 FM. I've got my guest here, Mel Wood. She is a life coach and Reiki master. She does help her clients through emotional trauma, and stress and overwhelm is her main focus. So that's why I have her here today. Previously, we've been speaking about, what we're expecting, what people are feeling during this time. Now we're going to talk about tools and techniques that people can apply, because I know with myself, as you can see, a bit of anxiety coming up, and I'm trying to manage it as best I can through meditation and just being rational. But Mel, there is other tools and techniques besides meditation. What else can people do? Because a lot of people are in their heads at the moment. They're not grounded. They're not seeing things clearly. So what can we do to get grounded and really start seeing clearly?
And by no means do I mean for this to be telling anybody what to do right now, because I know that there's some people that are in really, really tricky situations. And so,
and it goes
general tips and advice. But yeah, obviously, everything does come back to the breath and your physical body and trying to slow that down. So as you said, meditation is fantastic. Those guided meditation apps, because I know even for myself, like I can't just sit there and listen to music. I have to actually be told, okay, now you're doing this and now I want you to imagine this. So if people are listening going, oh, bloody hell, like meditation's not going to get me through Corona, like, well, it won't be the only thing that will get you through, but it's something that when we go to the baseline of grounding, the first things are breath and slowing down the heart rate and also feeling into your body. And when I say that, it's a simple breathing deeply before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, and it's just putting one hand on your chest and one hand under your rib cage and trying to just breathe slowly and just really slow down our systems so that every morning when we wake and every night before we go to bed, we've almost pressed a reset button on, because we don't want to be that teacup that's overflowing all the time with information. So that's one thing that we can do. Another thing I would be saying, and I have a lot of friends and clients who are mothers, so this is probably, but fathers as well, parents. Don't put pressure on yourselves to have to be the school teachers, to have to be everything to your kids right now. I think as soon as you can start to lift the pressure off yourself, yes, we want to keep the environment as normal as we can right now, but the fact is things will never be exactly as they were before this all happened. So we have to adapt to a new way of normal. And part of that is not putting pressure on yourself to have to be perfect, to have to keep everyone in order. If you have days where all you want to do with the kids is maybe cook something up together, watch a couple of movies, like if you have those days here and there, that's okay. So please.
That's more than okay.
Don't badger yourselves for, having to keep it all together all the time. I think, it goes back to that vulnerability piece that we were saying before, is like, it's okay to be vulnerable and again, to reach out, if you have friends who are mothers, reach out to each other, ask them, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing to keep the kids entertained? I'm losing my mind here. Has anybody got any suggestions? Now's a really good time to reconnect with those mothers groups. And, for fathers or, this is not a gender thing. This is just parents. But, if you are the primary breadwinner right now, go easy on yourself as well and know that there is help out there. So I think a tool is go easy and gentle on yourself and reach out and ask for help and support because it is available to you.
Yeah, perfect. Look, can we apply those to those going through financial strain at the moment as well?
I think so. I think, it doesn't matter how deep or how superficial the issue at the time is for everybody. Breath work and finding that inner calm in your body is necessary for everybody so that they are able to take the next step. So if you are unemployed and you're listening to this right now going, breathing's not going to pay the bills, I understand that. But what centering ourselves and getting some sunlight and eating well and all of those baseline things that we need to do for our bodies, they are able to equip us to reach out to make better decisions, to think more clearly.
Yes, to be more rational.
Yes, to be more rational, because we all know that when emotion is high, intelligence is low. So there may be a very rational solution to the issue that you're currently experiencing, but with overwhelm and not looking after our bodies, those things quickly become catastrophes. So we need to nurture ourselves from the inside out, and breathing and stillness and being outside, getting that sunlight from our own houses is so crucial. You know, we almost have to think of ourselves as plants and trees. We need to go back to the basics. Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping? Are you exercising? Are you moving? Are you moving your body?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and look, sleep is so important. So if we can do whatever we can to get enough sleep so that we're more rational, we're thinking clearly, we're making better connections. And look, part of what you're saying, you know, can we apply it to, you know, I don't want to talk about it, but can we apply it to those situations of, you know, the supermarkets having empty shelves kind of thing? That's what irrational thinking does, right?
Yes, absolutely. And do you know what? I actually think that if you are a healthy eater, if you want to look after yourself and if you want to really nurture yourself during this time, or you want to learn how to by healthier eating, now is actually the perfect time to do it, because
thank you.
actually all of the food that's not great for you that's selling out, not the fruits and veggies. You know, we actually have so much food, but everybody's going to the Mexican aisle going, oh, the burritos and the enchiladas, everything's sold out. It's like there's other food, you know. Everyone loves Mexican, obviously, but, you know, and pastas and rice. And yes, that is all selling out. But, you know, let's support your local grocer, you know, support. My grandparents were market gardeners. Support your local market gardener and
absolutely
find some fresh produce and nourish yourself through this time, because that's what your body needs. Your body doesn't need all of the processed food that comes in packages that's being sold out, you know. And there's other companies that are selling toilet paper. It's not just Woolies and Coles. Like, you know, there's online companies like who are actually, they were created to help with charities. So support those companies. Don't go to Woolies and be disheartened when the shelves are empty, because there are other options out there.
Yeah, perfect. Mel, I'm so glad that you said about the eat well, nutrition, you know, really look after yourself in this time, because the message, part of the message, you know, what I was trying to articulate that I didn't really do well, but, you know, just doing through my thoughts this morning, I really got a clear message. Stay away from alcohol, stay away from other substances, stay away from, you know, even sugar, because that heightens our emotions, that heightens that irrational thinking, and it puts you more on that roller coaster of emotions rather than just staying that steadiness. And that's what we need. We need steadiness and stability in our thoughts and what we do at the moment. So I'm so glad that you've said that as well. So, Mel, you know, what else can people do? So you've said meditate, stay grounded, you know, reach out to people, eat well, really start looking after yourself, support the local grocers. Is there anything else that people can do to really support themselves through this time?
Do you know one thing that I've been, it's funny because I think like a lot of people, where life gets so busy, we have this never-ending to-do list. And I think for the first time ever, we're going to be able to finish that to-do list.
Yes. We're actually going to be productive.
Yeah, I actually think, you know, once we get past the hype of, wow, life is changing and we need it to find our new normals, we really can use this opportunity to, you know, declutter. We can, you know, read some books we've always wanted to read. I think I've got a whole bookshelf full of half-read books. And I always say, and half of my anxiety in life is never finishing things, because, you know, other things come up. So I think that now is a really good opportunity for people to get stuck into even, you know, those home projects like, oh, the doorbell's not working and I haven't fixed it for 2 years. It's like, let's get all of that done. Make your home a home and really start embracing, I'm going to make this home a home instead of rushing in and out, kids here, us there, venues, functions. Like, turn your home into somewhere where you are happy to be spending more time in, you know. And look, we don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to be able to do this. It's just, getting to those nooks and crannies that, I've been wanting to clean out the spare room for so long. Why don't we start donating things to people who really need them right now? And, because there is a lot of excess that we have in our culture. There is so much. And I know that decluttering's a big movement. You've got Marie Kondo and all of that. So why don't we use this opportunity to help those who are more in need and go through our things? So that's one thing that I really, now that I've gotten over the stressing out of everything and going, what is happening? I can maybe think a bit more clearly now and go, okay, well, what are some of the things that I've been wanting to get to for a long time that I haven't been able to?
Yeah, perfect. Because you know what, in a way, it is a perfect time to go, what's really important to me? What do I really need to survive? What's a necessity? What's not a necessity? So perfect, declutter, really get rid of that mess. And you don't need to spend money at the moment if that's not, if you're not able to, create that space Mel's talking about. Rearrange the furniture, look up feng shui on Google and see how you can make it a more of a, livable space or, a space that you want to spend more time in. One technique that I wanted to share with people that really helped me is that you need to write down your fears. It might sound really crazy, but write down what it is that you are fearful of. And then write down, possible solutions to that fear. If that's what I'm fearing, well, what can I do to overcome that? Okay. Because if we bottle, it's going back to that saying, if we're in our heads, we're dead kind of thing. So seeing it out in paper can actually really help rationalize the thoughts and rationalize what's going on. So just write it all down, write exactly what you're thinking down so it's out and you don't have to hold it in your head, so that when it's out, new thoughts can come and you can go, okay, well, hey, I've lost my job. I might not have an income. I won't be able to pay bills and stuff. That's what I'm fearing, being able to support my family. But in what other ways can I support them in this time? In what other ways can I gain support to do this? So that might be one technique. Do you think that's have you used that technique before yourself, Mel?
Yes, I have, and it's such a good technique. The most important part of the technique, I think, is to get really deep into the question and look at all possible avenues of that problem. So, yes, the fear is I've lost my job and I can't feed my family. What are the solutions here? Who are the people who can help me? And what are the action steps that I need to do today to get me closer? Now, we know the lines are out the door with Centrelink at the moment, but, the Prime Minister has assured everybody that as soon as you lodge your claim, that will be backdated so that you will get paid from the date that you lodged it. So I think the most important thing for people to be doing right now, if their biggest fear is I cannot get food on the table, take action and get in that line or get on that phone, get on the website.
Look for other jobs.
Or get jobs, go and work somewhere where there is such a massive need right now for people, whether it be in the medical industry, delivery people in Woolworths, whatever that is. There are solutions to unemployment. And I know, for a lot of people, it feels like they are going backwards because they've worked so hard for this career or this business. But let me tell you now, Mel, if I cannot sustain my business during this time, the first thing I'm going to be doing is looking at where else I can get a job. And I'm not fussy about where I work either, because if that is really important to me and if that is a massive fear, then I want to tackle that fear head on and I want to figure out the best way for me to eradicate that fear.
Yeah. And look, we're just planting seeds and we're, you know, just sharing our thoughts on it. We're not saying, oh my God, people should go out and do this and, you know.
No.
But in a way, it's I kind of want to say we're just planting seeds. Like if it does come to that, if you are feeling that and you're not quite sure what to do, might be one way that you can try to do it. Okay. Yeah. And if you try it and it doesn't work out for you, at least you've tried it so you know that the next solution is going to work for you.
Yes, absolutely. Always important for us to just, you know, we're not trying to tell people how to do things, especially not right now because, you know, everyone's in a state of panic. I guess, we're just trying to shine the light on other ways of thinking if that's something people haven't thought of. To just, you know, we're coming from a good place to just try and support people right now.
Yeah. And look, the thoughts I was getting as you were talking as well, it's, you know, it's going back to, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Do you know what I mean? Go to your neighbours, use that vulnerability, say, hey, look, I need a bit of rice, you know, just to feed my family tonight. You know, when I'm back up on my feet, I'm more than happy to pay you back. And they might say, hey, I want you to pay it forward. Go to the next person when you're up on your feet, pay that next person forward kind of thing. So it goes back to paying it forward, those random acts of kindness. It might, look, it's going to sound really hard and people are going to have their pride and be, you know, defenses up to, you know, go and ask. But, you know, what we're seeing is a good response from the community, you know, a lot of understanding and a lot of support there. So just try it. It's one way.
Yeah, exactly.
Mel, you know, we've talked about a lot today and, you know, we understand that this is a very raw time. So in no way, shape or form do we expect anyone to, you know, to like really go, oh my God, what are these, you know, ladies talking about? You know, it's, you know, very raw. But look, when the time is right, maybe this will help you in the future. Okay. Mel, on a spiritual level, because we do talk about spirituality on this show and we're both in that, I'm going to do inverted commas, spiritual space. You are you know, a Reiki master. I'm a kinesiologist, energy healer. So we do talk on that spiritual level. And like I said, you know, I did receive a few messages, stay away from alcohol, other substances, you know, processed foods, just so that you can remain clearly. And that, remember that divinity, higher power just has a plan for us. So let's trust that plan. Mel, on a spiritual level, what are your thoughts on this, on what's actually currently happening?
It's a really interesting time. And I mean, intuitively, what comes up for me when I see what's on the news or when I hear about, you know, the changes taking place, the first thing that was incredible to see was actually the pollution levels that had gone down with people being in isolation in countries like China, Italy, Spain, you know, looking at those bird's eye view images of a before and after. And, you know, the silver lining on this is that the earth is starting to heal. The planet is starting to heal, you know. We are seeing greater levels of, you know, there's blue skies. China hadn't seen blue skies for God knows how long.
Wow.
And it's just, you know, all of these kind of stats that are coming out now about pollution levels and, you know, talking more about sustainability. I think, unfortunately, it has taken something like this to happen for us to realize that we do have to do things differently. And, you know, sustainability and conscious living and conscious consuming was becoming, you know, big buzzwords and trying to pave a way forward to, you know, encourage people to treat the earth kinder, I guess. And now is the time to be doing it because we have become so materialistic. You know, we have become, we have overconsumed as a nation, as the world. You know, when you watch those documentaries on pollution and, you know, you see those birds that have eaten nothing but plastic and they cut them open and they've died because of the amount of plastic they've consumed. You know, I think this is really calling us to evolve and to step into the next evolution.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, when on an individual level, but also on a collective, when we're going through such an upheaval, it is traumatic and it is hard.
Oh, yes.
And no up leveling is easy,
No.
but it is worth it when you come out the other side. So I think we're about to go into a new state of being, a new state of how we consume. Because we are going to be very careful with our money. So we're not going to be spending it mindlessly. We're going to be more aware.
Yeah.
We will be more sustainable. I look at the way my grandparents have been living their whole lives, and,
Yeah.
they are the kings and queens of sustainability. I
Yeah.
mean, they had their bed suite is like 60 years old, and then they're kind of the retro sustainability kings and queens, whereas we're trying to do it now. But
Yeah.
we will start to understand the true value of what slowing down and
Yeah.
being conscious means in a time like this.
Yeah. Do you think more people will start looking at themselves, like really start becoming more self-aware, like more go inwards than outwards? Do you think that will
Yeah,
happen?
I hope they do, Mel. I really hope they do.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, let's be honest, going inward is a really painful experience.
Yeah.
And I really do pray for people out there that they do have the support when they are feeling like it's too much. Like we said before, we really hope that people don't reach for outward things while they're trying to cope. I
Yeah.
mean, having a drink here or there, yes, fine, but we don't want people to start developing addictions,
Yes.
because it's almost like they will be going through a consumer detox. I mean,
Yeah.
you can still buy things online, but I think, like I said, the spending habits are going to change significantly. And I think it's really important for people to embrace human connection again. So connecting with your families and spending time together and doing things that don't involve having to have an external stimulus to keep you talking, like alcohol,
Yeah.
or, like buying the next shiny thing to keep you entertained. I
Yeah.
think we're going to have to go back to basics, and we're going to have to learn to get to know each other again as
Yes. Oh my
family.
God. Yeah. Like normally, and like, just how it was before all of the technology in a way,
Yeah,
really having honest conversations. The things I was thinking is, board game nights, that's going to become more popular because
yeah,
that's, a way to connect with family and
yeah.
really start building a rapport and open communication. And I had another thought as well, but that's another question, but that's gone out of my mind at the moment. But in a way, Mel, with people turning more inwards or really making that connection, I think that's what I was going to lead to. That it's hard to look at our traumas, right? It's hard to look at our behaviors and say, oh my God, that really isn't right, or that's really not working. What's a way that people can manage that? Because, a lot of people are going to have the time to think and let their thoughts run wild. That's what I was going to say. Mel, we talk previously, and it'll lead into what I've asked as well, that, in our spiritual space or spiritual health and wellness, they promote that everything's positive and everything's happy and, hey, do it like this and you can feel like this. But they don't really talk about the anger, the frustration, the actual journey or the process of getting to that point. So, Mel, explain that a little bit for people, like, if they are going to go inwards, what can they really expect, and how vital is it to feel the anger, to feel the frustration, to, feel every emotion that we can and acknowledge it?
Yeah, such a good question. And I could imagine a lot of the going inward will be triggered by the people we are spending isolation with.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. I love a clean house,
Yeah.
and my expectations might be a bit too much for my husband.
Yeah.
And we have very different ways of doing things. And when I am living on my own, I tend to go less inward because I don't really have to. I don't have a mirror in front of me, which is my
Yeah.
husband reflecting all the shitty things I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think what we can expect when we are forced to go inward is we are generally forced to go inward because we are triggered by an event that has happened with a loved one, whether that be children, partners, flatmates, and it will shine a light on our expectations of other people, our expectations of ourselves,
Yeah.
and why we are feeling angry and frustrated. So, I am a perfectionist. I like a clean house. I like things done a certain way. And that's been really hard on my husband because he got to the point the other day where he just said to me, Mel, can you just let me make a mistake and do it my
Yeah.
way?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God, I've been horrible. I've been like a dictator, saying
Yeah.
this needs to be done this and you have to do this. And so then that makes me go inward and think, wow, where's that coming from? Why does it always have to be perfect all the time? Why does it
Yeah.
have to look a certain way? Why does it have to be positioned that way? And, so have empathy when you're going inward and you're being triggered by others. Have empathy for how they are also feeling about the situation,
Yeah.
because we are all in a very stressful time and nobody is right or wrong. It just is. And we need to be able to communicate with each other. And I did, I said, the way you did that, it really frustrated me because I have a thing with mess, or I have a thing with rubbish, or,
Yeah.
so we have to be honest with
Yeah.
where the inner triggers are coming from, and know that if we are looking within, it is painful, but there is resolution on the other side.
Yes. And Mel, what's that resolution? So we're going to have that painful experience. We're really going to see our limits being tested in this time. We're really going to have thoughts and emotions that we probably never really acknowledged or experienced before. And it's going to be difficult just to manage that emotional, let alone the outside external stress as well. So once we go through it all, what's the resolution? What can we expect after all of this?
I think resolution is admitting that you're not always right.
Yes,
and
that's really hard for some people.
we have a tendency to, and I have a tendency to think, oh, but my way is the best way.
Yeah.
Or, no, it needs to be like this. And so it's maybe surrendering
Yeah.
to how you expect life to be right now versus how it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. That word surrender, very hard to do. But once you do, you realize that, yeah, it's amazing actually, in surrender and trust and faith. And I think that's what really, we did a show, I think 2 weeks ago, on trust and faith. And I think we really need to lean into that higher power, knowing that we're all going to be okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Mel, we're just about out of time.
It's gone so fast.
It has been so fantastic having you on. And I really do appreciate your time, your wisdom and knowledge, sharing that with our listeners as well. Guys, you've been listening to Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 and 90.3 FM. These are the Hummingbird Talks. We happen every Wednesday at 11 a.m. I've been speaking to Mel Wood, so life coach and Reiki master. We've spoken about, what to expect at the moment. So, feeling stress, overwhelm, what that looks like. We've spoken about the importance of human touch. So human touch gives us vulnerability, it gives us empathy, it gives us safety and security. In no means are we promoting to touch people right now, because right now what we need to do is adhere to government regulations and government restrictions. But after this event is all over, think about what the human touch can do. But what we're saying is express that vulnerability, empathy, safety and security in other measures. We spoke about reaching out to the community as well. So make sure you guys are reaching out, paying it forward, acts of kindness, give people hope. I had a workmate give me some toilet paper yesterday and And that was, really amazing. It really gave me hope that that we are going to be okay. And I kind of said we're sharing toilet paper now instead of chocolate. So, it's quite interesting. Guys, if you are triggered by anything in what we've spoken about, because all the way through we have said that, in no way it means do we not acknowledge that people aren't feeling this rawly right now. Like, it's really raw for people. So when the time is right, maybe some of these tools and techniques can really help. Reach out, guys. There is plenty of support out there. Let us know on the radio station if you do have any questions. Lifeline can help, and other support groups as well are out there for help as well. I think the best way through it is open communication. What do you think the best way is through to get this
Perfect. All of those things, and vulnerability, open communication, and please, put your hand up for help, because there are people to help you.
Yeah, and if you are in a position to help people, please do. So like I said, our manager, my part-time work, my manager has given us all a bit of cash to go spend at local communities. So that's our way of support. But it's even got me thinking, how else can I support the local community, given that I'm in a better position than most people. So just make sure you go out and help as much as you can. But Mel, thank you so much for being on the show. Next week, I am going to have my beautiful friend and intuitive healer, Dora. We're going to speak about positive affirmations, but I think we want to chat about immunity. But tune in anyway. We'll be chatting to help the community right now as well. So thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Mel. I'll have you on next time. Thanks. Enjoy, guys.